Hi everyone, thank you so much for clicking on this video. I'm Nika and I make book related videos, and welcome back, or welcome if you're new, to my channel Pretty Little Bibliophile, where I talk about books. So in today's video I'm going to give you mini reviews of the books I have read in the last couple of months, that is October and November. Without further ado, I'm going to dive right in. However, the format will be a bit different from the usual wrap-up videos that I've been doing, because it's been some time since I actually read these books. So one, I don't really remember a lot about these books, and secondly, quite a few of these books are not that great that I would recommend. So I'm gonna share about these books with you only for the basis of recording it, but other than that, apart from the ones I'll share my thoughts on, reviews on, the rest are not as good, unfortunately. So yeah, in October I ended up reading 10 books, and in November I read 4 books. A lot of these books are actually ebooks, books I read from Kindle Unlimited, and that's why I don't have a physical copy with me. But I also have 5 physical books, so I'll be sharing a lot more about them with you than the rest. So let's begin. In October I picked up Sandalwood Soap and Other Stories by Perumal Murugan. Now this is actually a review copy that was sent to me by Juggernaut, and I really enjoyed it. I think this was definitely my first Perumal Murugan, and I really enjoyed it. So it's a collection of stories about people and their lives and everything. Once again, I should also let you know that this is translated by Kavita Muralidharan, and there are a total of 15 stories. So there are many different aspects about people in these lives, how people live their stories, how certain events happen that lead them to becoming someone else than they were before, and all of them. The favorite story of mine from this collection definitely has to be, I think, the story name that you can see in the title itself, which is Sandalwood Soap, in which we basically follow this young boy who works at the washrooms at the rest stops on a long journey on the highway, I'm assuming, and his job is to knock at the bathroom stalls and tell the person to come out, so that he doesn't take long and the rest of the people can go in as well. And the I would say the protagonist of this story, although that is, I feel like, questionable or debatable about the protagonist, who the real protagonist is, but there's this character who is on a journey, and he goes to this washroom, and this little boy here actually belonged to his village, so he wants to go back home to his mom and everything. And although the man is unable to help him at the moment, he buys him a little bar of sandalwood soap, which as we go on in the story, we see that this little gift, which is not really much, just a soap bar, it means so much to him, and gives him a new ray of hope. So that was my favorite story. There are also other different stories about these different conflicts about a very forward-thinking education that you receive in cities and outside, versus how you deal with the differences in that said education that you receive, and then rural life as it is. So there's this one story called The Last Cloth, in which a young man who's educated, works abroad and everything like that, he comes back home to his village, and then he's very embarrassed to see his mom going bare-chested, basically. She doesn't wear a blouse, or she doesn't cover her breasts, and it is a big scandalous thing for him, and he tries to force her to wear a blouse and everything. So yeah, those are just 2 stories that I sort of narrated to you, but overall I think these are really well done, beautiful stories about life and everything. And these are also pretty much fast paced, so if you're looking to diversify your reading, you can definitely check out this book. I really enjoyed it, and I would definitely recommend this one to you as well. Then I read one of my most anticipated books of the year, which is Our Share of Night by Mariana Enriquez. This is quite a huge book, as you can see. So I think I bought it in January or December of last year. Sorry, I bought it either in December 2022 or in January 2023, sometime around that. And I had been really hoping to read it, but because of its size, I was really scared to even pick it up. But thankfully in October I gathered the courage, because September was a pretty good reading month and I told myself that I could do it. So in October I picked this book up and I read it, and I have to say that I really loved it. It's very much so of a speculative fiction. It's about the bond this boy and his father share. It's a very tumultuous bond as well, because he feels like he and his father have a really close bond. They love each other, but then it's all ups and downs. Sometimes his father is not nice to him, is very cruel and all of that. And at the end of this, at the backstory, at the backdrop, is this cultish family that will do everything in its power to bring this boy back, because they think that he's the heir and he can perhaps possess some powers. So this is a very dark book. I wouldn't say you should just go in without knowing the trigger warnings as well. And the author also brings into account several historical aspects of Argentina's dictatorship. So there are a lot of elements inspired from that as well, historically, which is actual and true, historically speaking, like I said. Other than that, the writing is amazing. The reason I picked this up was because I've read Mariana Enriquez's short story collections, and Things We Lost in the Fire and The Dangers of Smoking in Bed, and I loved her writing style. It's very raw, it's very powerful. At the same time, it's full of magic, it's macabre. You can use all of the synonyms for these words to describe her writing, and that is something that I have realized in this year, that I really like reading. So I decided to read this book as well, and yeah, I rated it 5 out of 5 stars without a doubt. I mean, yeah, it's big, but it's what a ride. Really enjoyed that. Then I am gonna talk about the 2 more physical books that I read. I have here King of Crete by Anna Huang. Now this is book 3 in the Kings of Sin series. I recently read this one, in October, yeah. So in this book we basically follow this billionaire Dominic and his wife Alessandra. So the basic trope of this book is a marriage in trouble. He is, running after money and he's hardly giving her any time, and then Alessandra is like fed up. He forgets their anniversary trip, and that is like the last straw that broke the camel's back. And from there, it's all about groveling. Dominic grovels a lot, which is something I really like in romance. And it was a really fun book. I have been reading the whole series serially. King of Wrath, King of Pride, and King of Greed. And I have to say that I'm really enjoying it, and I will definitely be reading the rest of the books as they come out, because I definitely am interested. So yeah. Overall, I really enjoyed this book. It's a fun, quick read, as you can see, adult romance, and I think it was done really well. I do enjoy Anna Huang's writing. Again, when I read romances, I do not really critically analyze them. I read them more so for the sake of fun, and if you want to check out romance for that aspect as well, then perhaps you can check out this book, this whole series really. Then the last physical book that I read in the month of October is this review copy, Wednesday's Child by Yi Yoon Lee, which was sent to me by HarperCollins. The reason I wanted to read this was because I saw this on social media, on Instagram, and I saw a couple of reviews, and I thought that this is definitely something that I want to read. So this is mostly about love, loss, life, and everything along those lines. It's about people and how they live their lives, all the actions they take. But that said, I've seen that all of these stories revolve mostly around women, and they revolve mostly around the past. So what happens is that it deals with the people, and sometimes they're present, and sometimes they're past, but always rooted in the present. So I think what the author wanted to do was try to sort of draw a parallel with life itself by only showing us the present and not giving us a clue as to how the story will end in the future. We get some clues as to how the story might go or might not go, you never know. But I think it really does parallel life, and the author was successful in that, because we never really know what's going to happen. So yeah, it's about people, that's all I'll say. And overall, it's a beautiful book. I did annotate quite a bit as you can see here. So yeah, it was really interesting about this nanny who goes and nannies for other children, other people's kids, like for I think only first 1 or 2 months, and then she always moves on and goes to the next kid. And then there's this grieving mother who tries to cope with her loss by traveling as much as she can. She this woman who's, because of a loss, is trying to make a spreadsheet of all the people she's lost and everything. There's so much about life in it, life as in with all about death and violence and loss and love and remembrance and everything. So this was a really, really interesting book, and I do think you can give it a try because it was overall very, very interesting. So those are all the 4 physical books I read in the month of October. I will now want to let you know about the 2 graphic novels that I read. One is Reading Quirks, and I read it on Scrib. So this is basically about readers, and I think it was a lot of fun. Again, like I said, since it's a graphic novel, it's also a very quick read, so you can just flip through and then have fun and just relax while going to bed or on a trip or anything like that. It's really fun again, so I do recommend this book. Then I also read The Me You Love in the Dark, which is about a woman who moves into a new house. She's a painter, but then there is a certain entity in the house, and she starts to form a sort of bond with this entity, and the relationship ultimately turns kind of south, if you know what I mean. So it's really interesting. I think it does kind of show abuse in an interesting way. I can't believe I'm saying this, but trying to bring in this supernatural element and then talking about abuse and control and all of that. The art style is also very dark and very gothic, and it was overall a very interesting read. Again, this one also I read on Scrib, or rather Everand as it's called now. So yeah. Then I read 4 romances, adult romances. The first 2 I won't speak about much because they are not really good. One is Hate Mail by Winter Renshaw, and it's basically these 2 kids who are betrothed from a very young age, and their parents tell them to write letters to each other, and since both of them are very much unwilling to get married eventually, they instead write each other hate mail, and then the relationship, a story moves on from there. I didn't really find a lot of joy in this book, so yeah, I rated it 2 stars. Then I read Broken Rules by I.A. Dice, and I'm really, really sad to tell you that I actually remember nothing about this book, so that might say a lot about what I felt about it. I see that I rated it 2 out of 5 stars. Then I also read another book, Written with Regret by Ellie Martinez, and it's basically about this woman who comes back to her husband and the child she had, left, basically. So it's a lot of groveling on her part, and yeah, I think I didn't really like the romance much because I felt like it didn't feel like it was realistic or a romance that actually could have happened after the certain event that has happened. So I felt it was kind of unrealistic. I know I read a lot of delusional romance books, but this just bordered on unrealistic, and I didn't condone it. So yeah, again, another 2-star read. And then lastly, I read The Wrong Wife by Maya Alden, and this one was a romance novel that I rated 3 stars. So basically, this guy is forced to marry a different woman from the one he was originally planning on marrying, and he slowly figures out that she's not as bad as he thought she would be. I think it's the younger sister, if I'm not wrong. But overall, yeah, I think this was more of an interesting book than the other romances I read this month, so I rated it 3 stars. But it's fine, it's not that great or anything like that. Nothing I would recommend or compare to my favorite romances. So yeah, if you want to give a try, or if you want to take a romance book from this whole video, then you can definitely check out The Wrong Wife by Maya Alden. That is the one that is not bad from this whole from the whole of my October reads. So yeah, alrighty, so let's now move on to the November reads. Like I mentioned in the beginning, I think I read 4 books in November, and out of these 4, only one is a physical book. So that book is Welcome to the Hunam Dong Bookshop by Huang Boryum, and this was a review copy sent to me by Bloomsbury, and I have to say this was definitely my best read of November. It's such a beautiful book. So basically this book is about this woman named Youngju who just, it's like, let's just drop life and go back to this little sort of town where I can just open a bookshop and just chill. In short words, it's that. But yeah, this was a very, very beautiful book. It's also it's very slow paced. It's not action oriented really. It's more so character driven. It's about the characters, their actions and everything. We are also introduced to a cast of characters who come to this bookshop, cafe. And yeah, this book is very, very beautiful, I have to say that. And it's beautifully paced like life, I think, when you're trying to be mindlessly living, that is. The pace of this book is like life, how it goes on one day at a time, and it's beautiful. It really made me think a lot because the characters themselves are thinking a lot, and I think it has something to do with the way these people live their lives. These people, as in, from what I've seen from media, disclaimer, the Japanese or the Korean, they live their life very slowly. They live it very mindfully. I think they live in the moment, which is clearly reflected in this book, and that is why, as I read this book, I also did a lot of introspection, and I did quite a bit of journaling as well, and I simply loved it. And I think this has really set the tone for how I want December and the new year to be, and I think I read it at the perfect time. That said, the writing is beautiful, the translation has been done really, really well, and I think you can definitely give it a try if you want, because it's amazing, and I think a book that everybody should read and basically just learn from. I think this book has so much to teach us, and I'm never going to stop recommending this book. So yeah, this is it. And then I read Bad Boss by Maya Alden, which I rated 2 stars. Now, Bad Boss is sort of a continuation from The Wrong Wife that I read in October. We see one of the characters introduced in that book first, and then now in this book too, basically Bad Boss, we get to see their story. So in Bad Boss, basically we have these 2 people. One is the boss, and the girl is this like tech head. She works in the tech department in his company, and they have, although they work well together, they have this side thing going on, just a friends with benefits kind of thing that they don't let anyone know. The girl is in love with him, however, but he wants no strings. So after a certain point, she just calls it off and then leaves him. And yeah, the reason I did not like this book is that this guy was downright cruel to her, inhumane. And I'm looking at it from a very subjective point of view, but if any guy did that to me, disrespected me or treated me so badly, I would never go back to him, no matter how much I loved him. So in that sense, I found this book again unrealistic and not something that I would perhaps recommend to a younger reader, because I don't know what they might take from this book, right? Because books do have the power to influence a lot. So I do think I would firstly not recommend this book, and then even if you end up picking it up, I would say that perhaps this is not for young, easily influenced readers. So that's that. Then I also read Faking It as a Maid by Emily James, in which we get to know about this young girl who acts to be from, I think, Romania, for the boss whose house she's cleaning and everything, because she doesn't want to speak to him. And basically the way they meet, and then she's impersonating kind of someone else and all of that. So it's very, very complicated from the beginning. So she decides to hide her ability to speak English, to communicate, and then basically it's a romance, so the love blossoms from there and so on. Again, there was no chemistry. I don't know how both of them could have maybe done better as friends, but I didn't see any chemistry and it was just a flop. And then the last book I read was by Shannon Ritchie. It's called Evermore or Nevermore. I forgot. I keep completely messing up the names, but yeah, Evermore or Nevermore. So it's basically kind of like a girl and a boy. She's a writer, I think, and the guy is a painter, and then he paints her and makes her immortal in the public eye, and now he makes a deal with her so that she can be with him for like a month and she can be his muse. Again, what a shitty story. I just didn't like it and I wouldn't recommend it. It's just, there's no romance, and I just found the woman also very I forgot the word, very kind of regressive for her own happiness, I feel. And by regressive, I don't mean in a sort of modern or not. It's just that she keeps on making these decisions. She keeps on deliberately being delusional, and not even in a good way. Again, wouldn't recommend. Such a stupid character. Just a waste of time, basically. I think the only good book that I read in November was this. Out of all the 4 books that I read, this is the best book that I read in November by a long shot, and there's no competition at all. So yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, those are all the 14 books I read in the month of October and November, and unfortunately I don't think I had that good of a time. I think October, like 50 or 60% of the time I had a really good time, because I read 4 really good books, and then in November I read 1 good book. So it's like in 2 months I read more or less 5 good books, which are the ones I will recommend in today's video. Here they are. These are all the books that I would recommend from amongst all the books that I read in the months of October and November. I think these are really ones that I enjoyed, and I have no worries recommending them to you. You might not like them as much, but you definitely will not be wasting your time like I did with the rest of the books. So yeah, definitely give these a try and let me know what you think. Apart from that, I will see you again very soon. Until then, take care. Peace out. Thanks for watching this video once again, and I'll see you again maybe in the December wrap-up video, because I think December might be comparatively better. Yeah, comparatively better than the rest of the months, that is October, November, but I don't want to jinx it, touch wood. I'll see you again very soon. Until then, take care. Peace out. Bye.